How's it going, guys? Coach Javi here, and today we're going to be talking about 5 things that are going to help you in your coaching journey. Let's roll the intro. I know we haven't done a Stoppage Time Sunday video in a long time, but we're going to bring the segment back just because I think it's a lot of important information and stuff that's useful to help you along your journey in coaching or in playing or in anything related to football in general. I know some of you guys want to be coaches in the future or are coaching now. So what I wanted to do for today's video is just share some of the things that I found along the way that have helped me become a better coach. I wrote a list on my phone because I don't want to forget anything. I want to make sure I give you guys the best points here. Now, this is only part 1. I'm sure I'm going to do a part 2 later on just because there's so many different things in the world of coaching. But for now, I've brought it down to just 5 important things that I found useful. So we're gonna say that the 4th official has indicated an additional time of 5 minutes. Let's go. Very first one is it's okay to not know everything. What I mean by this is that as coaches, I think we often feel like we should know everything, so when the players ask us questions, we should already have the answer. And that's not true, and that's not the case. If a player comes up to you and asks you a question, whether it's tactical, about the exercise, even technical stuff, and you do not know the answer, instead of giving them just a false answer just to answer their question and make it seem like I know what I'm talking about, that's a good question. Let me think about that and I'll get back to you. So what this does is it shows the player that you're also kind of human. It shows them that you're not just on a different level and you're not up here looking down at them, but instead you're being honest with them, you're being truthful, and you're also learning. Also, what it does is it prevents you from giving them the wrong information just to give them information. It forces you to think outside the box. It forces you to challenge what your views are at the moment to improve and to add a little bit to your repertoire or to your knowledge base, right? So don't ever feel like they're gonna look at you and they're gonna be like, oh, what, this coach doesn't know what he's doing. Now, if you really don't know anything and every time they ask you a question you have no idea, then you might want to reconsider your profession. But it's going to happen every once in a while. It's important to put yourself on that level and let the player know, like, hey, I'm not perfect, I'm learning, I'm willing to learn, but what I am going to do for you is I'm going to do my best to find out the correct answer so that you can have it and then I can have it as well. So it's important. You don't always have to know everything. When I first started, people would tell me that it's better to start out hard and then ease up, because then at least that way you can establish the discipline of the players. And what I found out is, to me, that's a complete myth. The best thing that I found out is that you have to be yourself. Even when I was a young coach coming straight out of high school, going into college and starting my coaching journey, I didn't want to look like I was this hard guy because I was only 1 or 2 years older than the kids that I was coaching. So instead, you have to be real. If you're one of the younger coaches, it helps you relate to the players who are younger. So I joke around, there's a little bit of banter between me and the players, but what I found is that you can't put on a fake personality and then ease up later. It just doesn't work that way. You have to be yourself. If you put on this fake front of, oh, I'm gonna be hard on you because I don't want chaos to ensue and I don't want you guys to start just thinking that you can run all over me. And while you are an authority figure, what you wanna make sure that you're doing is you wanna be able to relate to these players. So as you guys can tell from these videos, I like to banter a lot, right? Like, I'm very humorous. I like to make jokes. I like to act funny. I like to act stupid sometimes. That's just me, and that's exactly how I act with my players. If I go to my training sessions and I get all hard and all mean and, oh, we're gonna run sprints if we're not paying attention to what we're doing and we're not focusing, first of all, it makes me feel uncomfortable because that's not who I am. And second of all, the players are smart. The players will know if you're being real or if you're not. And if you're not being real, as soon as they make up their minds that they don't trust you, then you've lost the player. So you have to be able to gain the trust of your players and get them to buy in for who you are as a person, not this persona that you're playing just because you want to make sure that you're this coach who has authority over your players. You never have to flex your power because the players already know that you have it. You're in a coaching position. You just have to be real. You just have to be yourself. And eventually, I believe,
if you come back at me, you'll be off the field and you'll be following Terry down the road. If you come and see me tomorrow, you've got a fortnight's notice, because that performance is the straw that broke the camel's back, and that will be not be tolerated in this dressing room while I'm in charge.
If you're a good person, you have a good personality, the players will buy in. And then once the players buy in, it's a lot easier for you to do your job. So the next point kind of goes along with this one is, don't worry about the players liking you, just make sure that they respect you. What you have to make sure you do is that you're true to your values and you stick up for what you believe in. So I think far too many coaches sacrifice some of their...
Do you feel as if you're in a situation now whereby you may have to make changes or compromises in order to be successful?
No.
Not at all?
No way. We're going to play the way I feel, making mistakes and improve the mistakes. but I cannot do something I don't feel.
Values or some of their coaching beliefs just to make sure that the players like them. In this profession, you're not worried about the players liking you, you're worried about the players respecting you. What I mean by that is, and I know it sounds weird, you're like, wait, players aren't supposed to like me? No. So what's going to happen with that, and I've seen it happen, is that they start crossing the line, or they start testing and pushing the limits of the line. Especially if you're coaching teenage kids, they talk about each other's girlfriends, they talk about each other's moms, all that kind of stuff. You want to make sure that you don't get yourself caught up in that, because you're not there to be their friend, you're there to be their coach. You're there to be a guide to help them as they progress as a person and as a player, but you're not just their buddy. You have to make sure you know the difference. So when I say you need to have them respect you, is you need to establish certain lines, and they respect you as a person and as a coach. They're gonna do everything on the field to make sure that you get results and that they're playing well. Okay, so these next two are less about your personality and how you come off as a coach, and more so direct things and things that you can apply right away into your coaching, right? Things that don't take as much time. So the fourth one I put is CONEOLOGY. And one of my instructors in one of my coaching licenses really explained this concept to me, and I thought it was brilliant at the moment, and now I do it every single practice. So the definition of CONEOLOGY is, it's the art of setting up your cones and setting up your training exercises in a way that minimizes the transition time from one exercise to another. So oftentimes I see coaches setting up their first exercise, right? And then as soon as the exercise is over, everybody picks up all the cones, and then he starts setting up new ones for the next exercise. Even though you've maybe given the players a water break, by the time they come back, they're standing around watching you while you set up these cones, and you're killing time off your practice session. So I'm gonna visually demonstrate it to you right now, but what it is basically is, for example, if you start off with a passing exercise, right? Let's say you start off with a very basic passing sequence, the square passing. You set up your cones in a square, so you make sure that this setup will be able to transition right into the next exercise. So for example, if the next exercise is a possession exercise, you put the passing progression cones as part of the cones that will outline your possession. So as soon as you're done with the passing exercise, all you have to do is maybe you tell the players, hey, before you get a water break, just pick up the red cones that we were using. They pick up the red cones, and as soon as they picked up the red cones, the possession exercise is already set and ready to go. And then maybe after you're done with your possession exercise, maybe they just have to flip one or two cones, or just pick up two cones, and you have the cones set up in a way where you transition quickly from your possession into your final game. It can get really confusing, but I found out that all it takes is maybe 10 or 15 extra minutes of planning when you're doing your session to draw out the field and how you want the field to look, so you know exactly how you're gonna go from one exercise to the other exercise. You don't lose any time for your training, the players come back from their water break, and they can go straight into the next exercise. The last one, this one's a tough one. This one's a tough one because of your coaching habits, and everybody has these habits. Is when you give coaching points, you have to be clear, you have to be concise, you have to be direct, and you have to be specific. Think about it when you're coaching. Think about it when you're on the sidelines. How many times are you screaming or yelling, saying, good job, well done, quicker, quicker, we need to defend? All these little words that we constantly use without really thinking, I've come to find out are useless, because the players have heard this over and over and over, and it just goes in one ear and goes out the other. It doesn't really mean anything. There's no instruction given. So what I'm trying to focus on, and I'm still working on it as well, is making sure that the players know exactly what I mean when I tell them something, when I give them a coaching point. Maybe you say, well done, Jimmy. I like how you dropped in and you covered the space. You see, now Jimmy knows that he did a good job because he dropped in and he covered the space from the defender. Or another example would be, well done, Jimmy. I like the way that you forced him out wide and took him to the end line. Right now, Jimmy knows it's a good thing to force him out wide and take him to the end line. And if you're looking to correct something, this is the one that's my biggest pet peeve, is when people say you need to talk. How many times has your coach told you, you guys need to talk more? You guys need to be more vocal out there. To me, that means absolutely nothing, because every player has heard that a million times, and you're not giving them specific instruction. So when I tell my let's say, for example, my center backs, right? Instead of telling my center back, you need to talk to your outside back more. You need to be more vocal with your outside back. So instead of that, what I would tell Jimmy is, Jimmy, you need to tell Tony that he needs to cover your space if you get drawn out to defend one of the forwards. Now, Jimmy knows exactly what he needs to tell his defender. And now what you've also done is you've given him a tactical direction so that he knows exactly what needs to happen in that situation. You have to give these specific directions to the players, because now they have an idea, now they can visualize exactly what they need to do on the field, and they're not just listening to the same things over and over. I went way over, didn't I? Make sure if you like the video, you hit that like button, you subscribe. We're almost at 50,000 subscribers, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. That's it for this segment of Stoppage Time Sundays. We'll see you guys in the next one.